Hello friends, and welcome back to Stalker. For those of you who are wondering where I've been and why this isn't the next episode of Prey You Only Live Once, stick around. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. I'd wager that by now most of you have probably played Stalker 2, or at the very least watched gameplay footage on Blondie's channel or somewhere else. And although I do still have my complaints about the game, on the whole I think most of us can probably agree that its UI was a huge step forward from the previous games in both appearance and modernization. Which brings me to the game I mod for, Anomaly. Like all of the previous games, Anomaly has a very crude interaction UI, consisting almost entirely of text-only prompts at the bottom of the screen. If the interaction isn't attached to a visible object, or if there are many different objects on the ground, it can be hard to know what's possible to interact with, or where you need to be standing or aiming in order to do so. And if you want to know what's nearby that you can pick up, you're forced to hold down the interact key constantly. Admit it, we've all wasted time searching blindly in tall grass for bodies or something that's dropped. So let's take the guesswork and hand fatigue out of all that, shall we? Let's drag Anomaly's object interaction UI kicking and screaming into the modern world, or at least something close to it. Inspired in large part by Stalker 2, the interaction DotMarks add-on for Stalker Anomaly and Gamma is mainly intended to do three things. Add visible markers attached to any nearby object that you can interact with, which fade cleanly in and out with distance. Add new secondary actions such as unloading the ammo from a weapon on the ground or using a found medkit. And finally, replace Anomaly's dusty old text-based prompts with a polished graphical UI that still fits right in with Anomaly's look and feel. But it would have been a lost opportunity if I'd only replicated Anomaly's interaction prompts without doing anything to improve them while I was at it. As we go through these features, keep in mind that everything you see, and I do mean everything, can be customized or disabled in MCM. And that includes the HUD markers themselves. Everyone enjoys different things, and while I generally like having more information at a glance rather than less, not everyone does. To some of you, seeing floating icons on your HUD provokes a reaction of visceral disgust. I get it. I feel the same way about depth of field or motion blur. Get that shit off my screen. So don't worry. If you just want the enhanced interaction prompts but not the HUD markers, I've got you covered. But if you don't abjectly hate them, give them a shot. They may grow on you. And if not, you can turn them off anytime with a few clicks. For most pickup items and basic interactions, the icon is going to be the titular dot marker, but certain types of objects have their own special icons, most of which only appear contextually once you focus on that object. Stashes will show the classic Stalker stash icon. Your current quest target will show the appropriate task icon. NPCs you can talk to will show a speech bubble icon, and service NPCs like traders and mechanics will also each have their own unique icons. Like everything else, you can enable or disable these icons at any time in MCM, as well as customize their color, transparency, or size. The new interaction prompt doesn't just repeat the same text that vanilla would show you, it enhances those prompts with new information that just about any seasoned stalker would want to have at a glance. If a pickup item has battery charge or condition, then you'll see that percentage just beside the name, both of which will change color to reflect their levels, exactly as they would in the vanilla UI. Next to that is a small, unobtrusive item card that displays the item's weight and value. If picking up any item would put you over or close to your maximum weight, those details will change color to reflect that. The interact prompt can also show you the total weight in a stash or whether it's empty, but this feature might reduce your FPS when there are dozens of corpses or stash containers nearby, so it's off by default. You can change that in MCM. And let's face it, who hasn't wished that containers in Stalker had an empty tag at least once? But again, we're modernizing the UI, so we can take a few cues from Stalker 2 and other games of this era. DotMarks adds new secondary actions that have a separate keybind of their own. This defaults to a long press of your interact keybind, but if you're like me and you hate long presses, you can rebind that to whatever you want. These actions allow for a whole new level of immersion, directly interacting with items in the world without having to open a menu, especially if you have the animations from FDDA or FDDA Redone, which you've seen in use throughout this video. If you could right-click on an inventory item to use it, then it should now have an appropriate secondary action if you want to immediately pick it up and use it, without having to open your inventory first and find it. That's great for those moments when you just found a healing item you desperately needed, or even just to save time by immediately reading the recipe book. And speaking of saving time, wounded stalkers now have a secondary action to heal them without having to go into dialogue first. And if you have the animated NPC healing add-on, the action will seamlessly trigger that add-on's animation, adding further immersion to these tense moments. Corpses, stashes, and other containers now have a secondary action to take everything from them. If you're using the Autolooter add-on, then that same secondary action will let you trigger Autoloot first. Even IEDs have gotten an upgrade. You can pick up placed mines by interacting with them, or drop the inventory item exactly where you want it and use a secondary action to set the detonator, changing mode with the fire mode keys and the timer with the mouse wheel. But let's be honest, if you're installing DotMarks, chances are it's not the first mod you've installed or the only one you're going to. Most of you have an established mod list already and have taken great pains to avoid conflicts and make DotMarks as compatible as possible with everything else. And just like you, I have some favorite mods that I absolutely won't play without anymore. Mods like FDDA Redone, Sorting Plus, Skill System, or Weapon Parts Overhaul. DotMarks doesn't just coexist with these add-ons, it seamlessly integrates their features in ways that enhance both. Any secondary action that has an associated animation in FDDA or FDDA Redone will immediately trigger that animation. And if you've disabled multi-pickup, DotMarks will ensure that the object you focused is the only one you'll pick up or use. You can always cycle focus for nearby objects with your mouse wheel, giving you precise control over object selection without having to center the crosshair just right. Items that you've marked as favorites or junk using the Sorting Plus add-on will display that icon on the item card, and you can optionally choose not to display a marker at all for items that you've marked as junk. If you have both Weapon Parts Overhaul and Utjan's item UI improvements, DotMarks will display dots on the item card beside the prompt to show the condition of each part, and the gun's barrel will always be the component on top, so you know right away which ones are worth picking up. With Skill System, raising the Scavenger skill will increase the radius at which interaction dots appear to represent the actor's ability to notice valuables in the environment. And if you have my PAW or Milspec PDA add-ons, you can optionally choose to apply their icons and body visibility rules to dead body markers. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, everyone likes different things, so every bit of this is customizable in MCM. And for those of us with high-resolution modders, that includes resizing the graphical elements or changing the font, or even moving things around. You can fine-tune all of those details so that things look and work just the way you want. It's your game, play it your way. All of which is awesome, so what's the catch? Well, there's 3 things to keep in mind, and they're important. You really don't want to skip this. The first is that overhauling all of this can have a performance cost because DotMarks has to do a lot of work to intercept and replace all of Anomaly's interactions. You probably won't notice on even half-decent hardware, but if your potato is already struggling for FPS, it's something to keep in mind. That's especially true if you turn on the option for showing container weight on the prompt. Second, it's just not possible to do all of this in vanilla Anomaly, so current modded exes from Demonized are required. DotMarks requires features that are only in versions released on or after March 6, 2025. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get the latest version. It also requires version 1.7 or newer of MCM, which should be a no-brainer for anyone with a mod list. However, take heed. If you are already using older modded exes, you can't just drop these in. You have to do a clean reinstall of the modded exes, and I cannot help you with that. Tech support is just my day job, friends. Detailed instructions are on the same page where you download the exes. Third and last, some of you out there have huge mod lists. Yeah, I see you over there. I've done my best to make DotMarks as compatible as possible and designed it to adapt responsively to changes made by other add-ons. But I can't catch everything, and I can't control what other mod authors do. So if you're one of those people who've really tweaked out your game, or you're using a bespoke mod pack, be aware of possible conflicts. But if you do have trouble, don't panic. I've got a lot of useful documentation and troubleshooting tips at the download link. So if you've gotten your nostalgia fix for the year, and you're looking to add some modern graphical polish to Anomaly's interaction UI, check out that link in the description, and give Interaction DotMarks a try. So what's going on with Prey YOLO and the overall pause in content? Well, put simply, I'm having some health challenges that interfere with all the things that I love to do, and some of the things that I must. I put some more details in a community post a while back, but the short version is, I've been losing feeling in parts of my left forearm during various routine activities, especially in my hand. And one of those routine activities involves sitting at a computer. Yeah, that's a problem. I have to be able to stop and adjust my position at a moment's notice, or even just walk away and take frequent breaks, and some days it's pretty bad. All of which makes it prohibitively hard to record any kind of long play content where I need to keep my position consistent for speaking into the mic, especially when it's important to not constantly pause and interrupt the game. Truth is, I haven't been able to play Prey for months, not even for fun. Or most other games come to that. Trying to tough it out would be frustrating and uncomfortable, and I guarantee that it would not be fun to watch. I might be able to record some other kinds of content, like the short clips that were necessary to put together this video. But for the time being, I've been focusing on projects that suit my physical limitations, and that means I've been doing a whole lot of programming, as you can see from the new add-on highlighted in this video. I'm not done with Prey, not by a long shot. I will finish this series. I've been aching to play it like you have no idea, but it's going to have to be on pause until it isn't literally risking permanent physical harm. Until then, as always, I appreciate your patience. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.